Hello everyone, I'm your hostess with the mostest, 8-Second Gaming. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the Season 24 Legend tier list. Season 24 has been out long enough for me to actually start to play the Legends, get a feel for them, see how everything's working, and while this isn't my favorite season, I have been grinding it. So let's talk Legends, but just quickly, if you guys are looking to take your Apex skill to the next level, then you have to check out the GameLeap website right now. Over there, we have top level coaches creating the best, most highly informative guides to make you the best player you could possibly be. We have Legend guides, gun guides, VOD reviews, and much more, so click the link in the description, pick yourself up a membership, and start to improve today. But okay, with that done, let's actually move into the tier list, and to start things off, we've got the D tier, aka the Mirage tier, and there are 3 Legends here. I think this is the most Legends we've had down here. There's Gibby, Seer, and surprise, surprise, Mirage. Now starting off, Gibby got hit hard with some nerfs going into the season in terms of Legends can counter him once again. Last season, they took away the ability for Crypto and Maggie to break his Dome of Protection, so he was a lot more useful. Plus, supports last season were just way too strong. But going into this season, he lost the double healing on the support perk, and he also now has his Dome being blown up by everything again. So all of those coupled with him still being a massive hitbox, so if he tries to move around with the fast time to kills, he's probably going to get caught out and have to blow his Dome. It's going to get destroyed, he's gonna be out in the open. It's just a whole fiasco. Gibby just is not in the best spot right now. They did a lot to the support Legends, and especially to Gibraltar, he got hit really hard, so he's down in the D tier now. Next up though, we have Seer, and Seer absolutely hates this meta. It is way too fast for him. In order for Seer to actually get usefulness out of his kit, he needs time to actually activate his scans. It does take a little bit of time for his heartbeat sensor to be useful. It's a little bit harder to hit his tactical, especially with Legends being so fast now once they crack your shields with the assault Legends, and he just doesn't have the best ultimate for these fights. While wall hacks are good, they're not as good as the assault Legends getting the highlight on an enemy for the entire team once they crack their armor. Seer just doesn't have the time to set up, and he just doesn't have the usefulness to be in this meta, so he's in the D tier. And also down here is Mirage. Now I know that this is going to absolutely tilt all of the 3 Mirage mains that are in existence, but it's true. Mirage just is not a good Legend. We were kind of baited with the Renaissance Man perk giving him access to everything, but this season you don't need access to everything. Yes, it is nice to have access to the red and blue pills, but you should be having a different support in your team anyway, and everyone's playing Assault Legends, so you already have access to those also. And the scans just are not good this season. Both Recon Beacon and Ring Console just aren't useful. People are playing way too fast, they're not really useful at all. And if you're on Kings Canyon, you may as well just land map room and get the global scan and be perfectly fine with that. And I know some people are going to be saying, well, what about his ultimate? His ultimate can be really good, and yeah, it can be if the person is playing with their monitor off, because Assault Legends, once they crack Mirage, have the highlight on him, so his ultimate just does not fool anyone now. Mirage just has too many holes in his kit for him to actually be useful, and especially in this meta with so many counters to him being in the game, he just is not good. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to bash Mirage. He is a fun Legend to play, and I myself have picked him when I am trying to have a good time. But in terms of his usefulness, it just isn't there, so that's the D tier. Moving forward though, we can move into the C tier, and there are 4 Legends here. We got Crypto, Pathfinder, Caustic, and Watson. Now starting off, I think a lot of people were probably expecting to see Crypto here. I was debating dropping him down into the D tier, but there are still some instances where he is pretty useful. Right now, Evo armor is a little bit harder to get. Most of the time your fights are going to be with people that are on blue armor. So having a Crypto drone set up, drop the EMP on them, hit them for 50 shields with the fast time to kill can be really strong. Going against somebody that only has 125 health when it's only like 3 shots to kill that is pretty good, and that's why I'm putting him in the C tier instead. But I cannot put him anything higher because this meta is just way too fast for Crypto. There's no real reason for people to play Zone, because if someone sees you playing Zone, they're just gonna run at you. And also, if you're playing Crypto, you need the time to set up your drone. You need the time to get going and actually drop the EMP on someone. And right now, if people see that, they're just gonna Ash port on top of you. They're gonna run you down. They're not gonna let you do what you want to do. So it's a very rare circumstance that Crypto is actually going to get his EMP off. That's why he's C tier. Moving forward though, we have Pathfinder, and this is an incredibly hard fall from grace. Pathfinder with his amp zipline doing the 50% less damage was great. He was fantastic fantastic. I did think it did need a little bit of a nerf, not as harsh as they did to it, but also them making his grapple cooldown 30 seconds no matter what was just a huge kick in the nuts that was not needed for Pathfinder mains, and he just isn't really good anymore. Fights in this meta way too fast, the time to kill way too low, so if you're using Pathfinder, you grapple in and you just don't have anything else for 30 seconds, you're probably going to die. You've thrown yourself out of position, and if you didn't get at least 2 kills while you were doing that, it's just not good for your team, so that's why I do think he is a C tier legend. Again, like Mirage, he's a fun legend to play, but just not really useful in the current meta. And rounding out the C tier, we have the 2 control legends here, Caustic and Watson, and these people basically do the same job, so I am going to talk about them at the same time like I normally do, and they're just not good in this meta. They try to keep people away from you and try to make it so legends aren't able to just rush you, but right now they're not doing that job effectively. Fights are just way too fast, and the time to kill is just way too low for these 2 to be useful. And that does break my heart because I love Watson. I have thousands of kills on her. I have hundreds of hours of scrim experience on Watson. I love playing Watson. But this meta, it's either you're running people down or you're getting run down, and Watson and Caustic just do not do that job, so that is why I'm putting them in the C tier. But now we can move into the B tier, and surprise, there's going to be the most amount of legends here, but we got 8 legends here. We have Bloodhound, Alter, Catalyst, Lifeline, Wraith, Valkyrie, Vantage, and Rampart. Starting off, we have Bloodhound, and scans are still useful in fights. They're still pretty good. Knowing where everyone is useful, but again, with Assault Legends being able to highlight the person that they crack and also show their health at the same time to the entire team, just a little bit more useful. The only reason that I put Bloodhound in B tier instead of D tier with Seer or anything lower is because Bloodhound can still be super aggressive in fights. When you pop Bloodhound's ultimate, they run incredibly quickly, they can be incredibly fast, and they can keep pace with Assault Legends in fights while getting information out to their entire team without having to do the damage that the Assault Legends are doing. There are still some instances that Bloodhound is superior because of the scans that they give out, but not a lot of instances. So right now, I do think that Bloodhound is a B tier legend, more of a middle of the pack legend, and that's why I'm putting them here. Next up though, we have Alter, and I am still firmly on the train of Alter being one of the strongest legends in the game, just not in this meta. I was hopeful a little bit that Alter was actually going to shine in this meta because of how fast fights were going to be. You could throw the Alter portal down, you could run in, wipe the fight, and portal back out before anyone has the chance to third party, but it doesn't work out the way that I thought it was going to. You die so quickly that if you're trying to take the Alter portal out while someone's shooting at you, they're probably going to kill you before you actually get it off. But that's not to say that's going to happen every single time, so that's why I'm putting her in the B tier, because you can still do that, just not as effectively as I was hoping for. And Alter is still Alter when it comes to the other parts of her kit. It is really fun to yoink stuff from people with her passive, and if you're really running low on ammo in a fight, you can just grab something out of a death box without having to throw yourself out of position to get it. And her tactical still has an incredibly high skill ceiling that people are still not seeing the potential of. Kidnapping people, taking high ground at a whim, running through buildings when it's last zoned. There's so many different usages for this tactical that it's really not even funny, and a lot of people need to see that. I am going to continue to sing Alter's praises because I'm still a firm believer that a lot of people are going to pick her up once the meta shifts towards her, but for right now, she's a B tier legend. Next up though, we have Catalyst, and Catalyst was one that I did have a hard time placing because like Caustic and Watson, she doesn't really have a place in this meta because it's way too fast for her. The reason that I'm putting her in B tier is because Catalyst can funnel people very effectively, and being able to funnel people in this meta is pretty good because if you're able to control where your enemies go, then you can kill them a lot easier. And with the sped up TTK, you can really take advantage of some of the things that Catalyst can do. And I'm not gonna lie, having the ability to rebuild doors is pretty clutch because a lot of people are running around with charge rampages, shooting people's doors off. So if it really comes to it, being able to rebuild that is always handy. But like with Caustic and Watson, this is really just not the meta for control legends, so that's why she's B tier and not anything higher. Moving forward, we have Lifeline, and this might shock a couple people because I still see a ton of Lifelines running around, but I think Lifeline, like Mirage, is a huge bait character, especially in this meta. I've played a lot against Lifeline so far, and every single time they throw their halo up, it's basically just a free push for an Ashe player because they can't really peek out of the halo without the Ashe also being able to retaliate, and it's just not as effective as a Newcastle or Gibraltar Dome in that sense. Also, right now, you want legends that are good at keeping your team alive, and Lifeline just isn't quite there in terms of her usefulness. Yeah, the Dock Drone is good, but most of the time, if someone gets that low for the Dock Drone to actually be effective, the enemy team is probably on top of them because of how fast the Assault Legends can collapse, and so the Dock Drone doesn't get as much usefulness as it has in the past. And I know that some people are going to run to the comment section to point out the fact that Lifeline can fight while she is rezzing her teammates, and that is useful. And yeah, it is, and that's why she's B tier and not anything lower, because she still does have some usefulness in the meta in terms of rezzing people while still fighting. And especially with the low TTK, if the enemy team tries to throw themselves at you while you are rezzing, that can sometimes lead to them being out of position, and you're able to take advantage of that. And that's good for Lifeline, so that's why I'm putting her in B tier. Moving forward though, we have Wraith, and this is another one that I was having some trouble placing, but I think B tier does fit with her because she is still Wraith. She is still able to do what Wraith wants to do, but right now with the low TTK, and I'm going to be saying this a lot because it's the main thing this season, but with the low TTK, Wraith has a very hard time actually getting her phase off. Ever since Respawn did nerf this, people have been complaining about it, saying that they've been killed before they can even get the phase off, and now it's way worse. It's been amplified like tenfold. The saving grace of her is that she is still Wraith. She can still do the phase stuff. She can still portal her teammates from point A to point B incredibly safely. She has a little bit more control over it than Ashe does because Ashe has to go in a straight line. Wraith can kind of play around with her portal a little bit. That's why I do think she's B tier, not anything lower. Next up though, we have Valkyrie, and right now Valkyrie is only useful to get you from one fight to the next fight. That is it. The rockets, they're aight, but they're not really as good as an assault legend just running someone down. The ultimate, it's good. It's kind of like a jump tower. You just pop it, go from one fight to the next fight. That's really all that Valkyrie is useful for, and that's why I think she's B tier. Before, Valkyrie did have a little bit more flexibility when it did come to her and her team comps, and especially with her usefulness for zone comps, that's where she really shined. But right now, there's zero reason for you to play zone. Everyone is just fighting. The fast time to kill has made this game just an absolute ape fest, and especially on Olympus and Kings Canyon, there's sub 10 teams before round 1 has even closed. So there's basically no reason to play zone, there's no point to it, so Valkyrie is only useful from going one fight to the next fight to the next fight. That is it. But we can move into the next legend, which is Vantage, and I did consider putting Vantage in C tier, but the sniper rifle with the lower armors is pretty deadly. And because of her built-in sniper rifle being amazing, she has a little bit more flexibility with the other weapons that she can run. So she can run the EVA 8 and the R9, have 2 up-close weapons, and have her poke weapon built into her kit. She has the flexibility to pick the really strong weapons and not really have to worry about the mid to long range because she already has that in her kit without having to worry about it. And that sniper rifle does do a lot of damage. You can basically two-shot everyone right now, which is scary. But another thing that does kind of draw Vantage away from the upper tiers is the fact that ultimate accelerants are not as common as they have been in the past. Once they up them to purple rarity, you're not finding a ton of them in a game. You're finding like 3 to 4 if you're lucky. So Vantage can't just keep an entire inventory of ultimate accelerants to continue to feed her sniper rifle, and that does hinder her a little bit, which is why I'm putting her in the B tier. And the last legend find themselves in the B tier is Rampart. A Rampart with an L-Star or a Sheila behind her wall in this meta is pretty good. You're doing a lot of damage. You're able to kill people incredibly quickly, which is very strong. However, Rampart is not good in metas where people are just running straight at you. If they're not letting you set up your walls or you're not able to get Sheila spun up in time, there's really no point to playing Rampart. And right now, Maggie can just force her off of her wall. Ashe can just tether her and TP or grenade her. Ballistic can just shut her down because she just overheats way too quickly. There's so many counters to a Rampart in this meta that you really have to be careful. And I did consider putting Rampart lower, even actually considered putting her in the D tier because of how many counters there are, but Sheila and the walls are still really strong. And when you get to endgame situations, if people are forced out into the open, you are absolutely shredding them, and it is still pretty good. That's why I'm putting her in the B tier, because the situations that she is strong in, she's really strong in, but she does have a lot of counters, so she's a middle of the pack legend. This is where she's staying. But that is the B tier done and covered, so let's move on into the A tier, and there are 6 legends finding themselves here. We have Bangalore, Fuse, Horizon, Loba, Revenant, and Octane. Now starting off with, we have Bangalore, and in terms of the Assault Legends, she's one of the weaker Assault Legends. Her smokes are not nearly as useful as they used to be, especially when you're fighting against other Assault Legends, because if you're the one that gets cracked and then you smoke, it's not going to save you. They have the highlight on you. You're going down. But vice versa, you can smoke the enemy team, get a crack on them, see them through it, and you basically have a digi threat again. So there is some give and take. But the thing that was kind of unique about Bangalore was her double time. When she was getting shot at, she was really fast, and that was her thing. But now, the Assault Legends, when they crack somebody, they have that speed boost. So all of the Assault Legends are basically running around with double time speed, so it kind of evens things out and takes away a little bit of Bangalore's uniqueness. Also, her ultimate is a little bit too slow for this meta. I do think that if Respawn wants to bring Bangalore into the meta a little bit more, they're going to have to speed up the time in which her ultimate does actually explode after it falls. But until they're doing that, I don't see anything higher than A tier for Bangalore right now. That's basically the same with our next legend, which is Fuse. In terms of the Assault Legends, Fuse is definitely the weakest. Fuse just doesn't get to do what he wants to do most of the time, which is force people out of situations. His Knuckle Cluster is not that scary. If you get hit by it, you're probably just running at him anyway, so it's going to fall off of you, and then it's not really doing anything effectively. And his Mother Load, when he just drops the flames, they don't activate fast enough for the enemy team to actually be trapped. And if they do get trapped, hey, guess what? They're probably playing Ashe, and they're just going to Ashe TP out of it. But with that being said, he is still an Assault Legend, and the Assault Legends are basically the same as the Support Legends last season, where they're just way too overtuned, so they can't be put anything lower than the A tier, so this is where I'm putting Fuse, is the A tier. Next up though, we have Horizon, and Horizon's just one of those legends where she just has so many different things at her disposal, it's really hard to put her anything lower. She is still that just get out of jail free card for people with the Gravity Lift. Her ultimate can wipe fights on its own. If she was an Assault Legend, I think I would cry myself to sleep at night because of how strong she would be this season, but thank the gods that she is not an Assault Legend. So because of that, I just think she's A. There's really not a whole lot to talk about Horizon because she's very cookie cutter and vanilla when it comes to a strong legend, but she's not overly tuned yet, or thank God she isn't, but yeah, A tier. Next up though, we have Loba, and despite her getting the nerfs this season, she is still pretty strong and she is still slippery in fights, and with the fast time to kills, I know I've been saying it a lot, but I have to mention it because it is the big thing this season, but with the fast time to kills, her bracelet being able to just get her out of those fights to reset her team is very good. And she doesn't have to risk herself to get the banners because she can just throw her ultimate down, grab the banners from that, or just get away to a crafter. And having a support legend on the team with the crafter is always good because then you get the guaranteed mobile respawn beacon when you do craft your teammates. She is still just very strong, she just still does have a lot in her kit, and also her bracelet does help her be a little bit more aggressive because if you get cracked, you can throw your bracelet, regen that shield, and be taking off angles while doing so you have a little bit more flexibility as a support legend, and that's why I'm putting her in the A tier. Now next up we have Revenant, and if you want to counter how fast people are cracking your shields, just put a shield on top of your shield with the Revenant ult. Revenant right now is kind of like the poor man's Ashe. He has the ability to track people when he does get them low, like an Assault Legend. He has the ability to dash at somebody or jump at them, like Ashe does. And he has a way to counter the meta somewhat because he's just putting a shield on top of his shield, turning into a raid boss, but it's not really as good as it has been in the last couple seasons because of how much damage everything is doing. But he is still able to be incredibly aggressive in this meta, which is fast fights, and that's what you want. You want those fast fights. You want the ability to stay alive in those fights, and that's what Revenant does. So that's what he's A tier. And next up we have Octane, and this was a weird one for me to be putting because normally Octane is like C tier because of how selfish he is, but in this meta it works. Being selfish and having the ability to be in and out of fights very easily is what is needed right now, and Octane being as slippery as he is with the jump pad, being able to jump on people, it's what you need in this meta. This meta is fast, you want to go fast, and Octane is the epitome of fast. Now again, like the others, he's not an Assault Legend, so I can't put him anything higher, but I also can't put him anything lower because this is what he wants to do. This is literally Octane's entire shtick, is just getting into fights, being annoying, killing people, and staying alive. So all the people that were still maining Octane going into the season, this is actually a pretty good season for you. So keep on keeping on. But that is our A tier done, so we can move into the next tier, which is the secretly broken tier. These are the legends that are going to be flying under the radar that a lot of people are not going to be respecting, and you might actually be able to pull some cheeky stuff off with them. And this time there's only one legend find themselves here, and that is Conduit. Now Conduit is a support legend, so they're already a pretty good backline legend and they give you the ability to reset fights pretty easily. But Conduit has the ability that Lifeline doesn't, and that's keeping people alive even when their shields get cracked. Fights right now are way too fast that Lifeline's drone does not really have the ability to do anything, but Conduit's shield regen does have the ability to do something as long as you don't overly rely on it. Shields are not as big as they used to be, so like I said earlier, you're probably really fighting on blue shields, but Conduit can regen very effectively. But another thing that Conduit can do that Lifeline can't do is corral enemies. And like I said when I was talking about with Catalyst, if you're able to control where the enemies are going, you're gonna have an easier time fighting them and it's a lot better for your team. So Conduit with her ultimate can cut off rotations, cut off pushes, or stop people from running away from you. And that is incredibly effective this season. A good Conduit that is able to juggle her cooldowns and put her ultimate in the right position is scary, especially in this season. So if you were a Conduit main when she first came out, when she was super broken, you should probably try picking her up again and just see how she feels, and I promise you she will feel good. But now we can move into the S tier. These are the top legends, the one that you're going to be picking or seeing a lot, and there are 4 legends here: Ballistic, Ashe, Mad Maggie, and Newcastle. Starting off, we have Ballistic, and it's Ballistic. I told you guys last season when I made this tier list, when Ballistic was in D tier, if they made a couple tweaks to his kit, he was going to be scary, and that is what happened. They made a couple tweaks to his kit, they gave the Assault Legends a really busted thing, and Ballistic has been taking over a lot of team fights. And right now, he's honestly probably the best 1v1 legend in the game. If you land your Whistler on someone, then they can't shoot back at you, and if the enemy team can't shoot back at you, you're probably gonna win that fight. But his bread and butter obviously is the ultimate. Giving your entire team infinite ammo, faster reloads, and faster movement speed in this meta, way too good to ignore. And also with Ballistic, if you slap like a Rampage that is doing 30 to the body and 38 to the head in his sling, it automatically revs up when you use his ultimate. So you're having one of the broken weapons in the game already revved up, ready to go with this fight. Faster movement speed, faster reload, it's insane. Ballistic is just so good right now, and if you want a legend to just support your entire team with and make sure that you're winning a majority of your fights, it's gotta be Ballistic. But next up we have Ashe, another one of the legends that got an insane buff going into the season, and she is the legend that I'm having the most fun on. I can't tell you how amazing it feels to use that Ashe dash to just wall bounce over someone going Mach 50 and hit them while you just pass by. The tether's strong, the dash is strong, the ultimate is strong. Ashe just feels amazing, and I've been playing her so much. She's actually the legend that I've been playing ranked on basically every single day. And by the way, I have been streaming my rank runs over on Twitch TV/8second gaming, so if you guys want to see me play live, ask me questions, hang out, I would love to see some new faces over there. I'm trying to stream every day, so come check that out. But I don't think it really surprises anybody to see Ashe up here with how much her kit actually does and her pick rate skyrocketing. So let's move on to the next legend, which is Mad Maggie. Now Maggie is what Fuse wishes that he was. Maggie's actually able to make it such that there's so much chaos and confusion going on in team fights that she is just able to actually take control of that. If you're in a fight and you try to peek out on the enemy team, the L-Star is going to rip you for like 180 in 2 seconds, so you're going to just back behind cover, try to heal, but Maggie's going to say, nope, Riot Drill, you're not able to do that, it's going to down you. You cannot play any cover when there is a Maggie on the enemy team. And if you're trying to be aggressive on the Maggie team, she's just going to throw her ball, shell shock you, run in with the speed boost that is getting from their ultimate and the crack, and just run you down and kill you before you even have a chance to realize what is going on. She just pairs incredibly well with Ashe in like a 1-2 combo where you can tether someone, Riot Drill them, burn them to death. It is incredible. Assault Legends are really strong right now. Maggie's no exception, S tier. And the last legend in S tier is, of course, Newcastle. He is still just an absolute beast. He has been for season after season after season. And even though the supports did get nerfed going into the season, he is still an absolute menace. Now, with that being said, he does take a little bit more finesse to actually be super useful. He does still require a little bit of thinking, but he is able to help your team so many different ways. If somebody on your team goes down because they had pretty poor positioning and the enemy team took advantage of that, Newcastle can just slam down his ultimate, give you a good spot to play, and drag that teammate into a spot where they're not standing out in the middle of the open trying to stare down a nemesis. And yes, I understand that Newcastle's mobile shield now gets destroyed by Maggie Ball, but that was never really an issue for Newcastle. And also Newcastle slightly counters Maggie at the same time, because if she tries to riot drill his wall when he is ulted, it's going to be energized, it's going to intercept it, she's not able to do that, and he's going to have a pretty solid spot to play. Ashe can't tether, Ballista can't smart bullet them. There's so many different things that Newcastle offers to a team. It's really hard to put him anything lower than S tier. He's still a beast. Play him if you were playing him before. He's still strong. But let me know which legends you would put in different spots in the comments down below. And if you guys want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest Apex Legends tips, tricks, and news, don't forget to smash the like and subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Once again, I'm 8 Second Gaming. I'll see you guys in the next one.